So we're going to get back to our novel. What is our novel called?
Indian in the Cupboard.
Indian in the Cupboard. And we are at a very pivotal chapter. And what is our chapter called?
Shooting match.
We are on chapter 9, the shooting match. All right, let us begin. So Omri put the cowboy and horse in his sock drawer while he had the quickest supper on record. And then he raced upstairs again, stopping only to pinch a few grains of Galan's rat feed for the 2 horses. Shut up in his room, he took stock. What does that mean, he took stock? He took stock.
He made sure that he has everything.
Okay, yeah, he's kind of taking inventory, right? He's kind of taking in account what he has. A room this size was like a sort of indoor national park to the cowboy and the Indian. It should be easy enough to keep them apart for one night. Omri thought first of putting the new pair straight back in the cupboard and then bringing them back to life next morning in time for school. But he had promised Patrick not to. So he decided to empty out the dressing up crate and put the cowboy and his horse in there for the night. The crate was about 2 feet square, made of planks. There was certainly no visible way out for the cowboy. Omri put him carefully down into it. Looking down at him, he felt curious about his name, where he came from, and so on, but decided it was better not to talk to him. The cowboy had clearly decided that Omri was not really there at all. When his big hands reached down, carrying some cold stew grain for the horse, some fragments of apple for them both, and later some cotton wool and scraps of material for bedding, the cowboy deliberately covered his eyes by pulling down his big hat brim. It was only when Omri reached in one final time to give him a drink of water in a minute green glass bottle that he had found in the bathroom cupboard that the cowboy spoke a word. "Take that filthy stuff out of here," he suddenly shouted in his strong Texas accent. "I ain't aiming to drink no more that long as I live." And he heaved the bottle, which was almost as big as himself, up by its base and tipped its contents out into the boards at the bottom of the crate. "It's only water," Omri ventured to say. "You shut your mouth," shouted the little man. "I won't take no lip for no gosh darn hallucination. No, sir. Maybe you don't drink too much. Maybe I can't hold my liquor like some of them real tough guys do. But if I'm a-getting delirious trimmings and starting to see things, why couldn't I see pink elephants and dancing rats and all them purty things other fellas see when they get so far gone? It ain't fair for me to see giants and blue deserts and get put in boxes the size of the Grand Canyon with no one but my little horse for company." He sat down and put on the pile of hay, took the horse's nose in his arms and put his face against it, and he began to sob. What does sob mean?
Crying.
Good. Omri was shattered. A cowboy crying? He didn't know what to do. When his mother cried, as she did sometimes when things got to be too much, she only asked to be left alone until she felt better. Maybe all grown-ups were like that. Omri turned away and got slowly into his pajamas, and then he went to see how Little Bear was getting along on the far side of the crate. He'd finished the painting. The teepee looked really good. Little Bear was now in the longhouse arranging his blanket for the night. The pony was tethered to his post on a long rope. Omri took out the rat food and gave it to him, and then he called Little Bear out. "Are you okay? Anything you need?" He should have known better than to ask. "Plenty. Want fire in longhouse. Keep warm. Keep animals away. Want tomahawk." "So you can chop bits out of my leg?" Little Bear angry would say that. "Sorry now. Use tomahawk to cut down trees, chop firewood, kill fish." "What fish?" Little Bear replied with a very good imitation of a fish swimming. Then he did a mime of catching it, putting it into a block, and with a whirl of his arm, chopping off its head with a gleeful relish. I don't know about that. You get, tomorrow, fish from plastic. Good tools, but fire, now, Chief Little Bear, say. Omri sighed. He went to the waste paper basket and picked out the remains of the other fire that he had thrown away in there. There was quite a lot of fire lighter left. He gathered up some of the bits of the willow bark and twigs from where Little Bear had been working. You're not going to have it inside, though. Far too dangerous. He arranged the fire on the packed earth of the seed tray, about 6 inches from the entrance of the longhouse, first moving the teepee to safety, and then he struck a match, and soon there was a cozy little blaze. Little Bear crouched beside it, his red skin glowing and his eyes bright with pleasure. Can you guys visualize all of this? You see the little teeny tiny flames? Little Bear, can you dance? Yes, many kinds. Would you do one now, so I can see? He hesitated. Then he shook his head once. Well, why not, though? No reason dance. Well, maybe, if I get you a wife. The Indian looked up eagerly. You give word? I only said I'd try. Then Little Bear dance. Then do best dance. Love dance. Omri turned off his light and drew back from the scene. It looked amazingly real, with the fire making shadows, the little horse munching his grain, and the Indian sitting on his heels, warming himself, wearing his colorful headdress and the chief's cloak. Omri wished he himself were small enough to join Little Bear by the fire. Omri, are you in bed? I'm coming up in 5 minutes to kiss you goodnight. Omri felt panicky, but it was all right. The fire was going out. Already Little Bear was standing up and yawning and stretching. He peered up through the darkness. Hey, Omri, painting's good? Great. You sleep now? Yes. Peace of great spirits be with you. Thanks. Same to you. Omri peered quickly into the crate. The poor cowboy had crawled away into the makeshift bed and was snoring loudly. He hadn't eaten a thing. Omri sighed. He hoped Patrick was making plans and arrangements. After all, Omri could keep his Indian secret. Patrick may be able to do the same. All might be well, but Omri certainly wasn't going to try the experiment again. It was all just too much worry. He climbed into bed, feeling unusually tired. His mother came in and kissed him, and the door was shut. He felt himself drifting off almost right away. Then, suddenly, a piercing whinny sounded and was answered by another. The horses had smelled each other. They were not so far apart, and the cowboys wasn't tied up. Omri could hear his little hooves clattering on the bare boards of the crate, and the whinnies began again, high, shrills, almost questioning. Omri thought of putting on his light, but he was so tired. Besides, what could he do? They couldn't possibly reach each other through the planks of the crate wall. Let them whinny their heads off. They'd soon get fed up. Omri rolled over and fell asleep. And he was wakened just after dawn by shots. He was out of bed in about 1/5 of a second. The glance into the crate showed him all too clearly that the cowboy and horse had escaped. The second glance showed how. A knot in the wood had been pushed out, or perhaps kicked out by the horse, leaving an oval-shaped hole kicked like an arched doorway, just big enough to let the horse and rider through. Do you guys understand what a knot in the wood is? Yeah, like look at the table. You see how like there's knots in this wood? Of course it's formica, so it's pretend knots. But like in wood, if you slice through like wood, like when you get plywood, you see the knots in the wood?
Yeah.
And it causes a weakness in the wood to sometimes break, not be as strong. And so when you have small slices in the wood, it's able to be broken through more easily, and that's what was.
The horse has really strong feet, so it just kicks through.
Yeah, and it was able to break it through. Omri looked around wildly. At first he could see nothing. He dropped to his knees beside the seed box and peered into the longhouse. Little Bear was not there, nor was his horse. Suddenly some tiny thing whizzed past Omri's ear and struck the crate beside him with a ping. There's 2 types of figurative language in that sentence. Does anyone know what they are?
So whizzed means like a whoosh.
Okay, good, but what type of figurative language is it? Whizzed and ping. What type are those?
Onomatopoeia.
Nice, Vincent. Onomatopoeia is very good. Twisted his head. Omri saw it. A feathered arrow the size of a pin, still quivering from its flight. Was Little Bear shooting at him? Little Bear, where are you? No answer. Then suddenly a movement like that of a mouse caught the corner of his eye. It was the cowboy. Dragging his horse behind him, he was running half bent over from behind one chair leg to another. He had his revolver in his hand, his hat on his head. Another arrow flew, missing the crate this time and burying itself on the carpet, just ahead of the running cowboy, who stopped dead, jumped backward till his horse hit him, and then fired another 2 shots from behind his horse's shoulder. Omri followed his aim, spotted Little Bear at once. He and his horse were behind a small heap of cloth, which was like a snow-covered hill to them, but was actually Omri's vest, dropped carelessly on the floor the night before. Little Bear, safe in the shelter of his cotton mountain, was just preparing to shoot another arrow at the cowboy, one that could hardly fail to hit its mark. The poor fellow was now scrambling desperately onto the horse to try to ride away, and was in full sight of the Indian, and he drew back his bowstring. Little Bear, stop! Omri's frenzied voice rang out. Little Bear did not stop, but his surprise spoiled his aim, and the arrow sped over the cowboy, doing no worse than to sweep away the big hat and pin it to the baseboard behind the chair. Thankfully, the scare threw his aim off, because Little Bear would have hit his mark had he not been startled. You know, their aim is quite accurate when Indians shoot their bow and arrows, right? Yeah. So if Omri hadn't shouted, it would not have been good for the cowboy, don't you guys think? Now, when he compared his vest to a snowy mountain, what kind of figurative language is that? They didn't use like or as, so we call that a. It's behind me on the wall.
Metaphor.
Good, a metaphor. Okay, good. You like the picture? I like the drawings. It has quite a bit of detail in there. The cowboy's in this scene, right? We don't see Little Bear in that scene.
It's hard for me to tell, certain things, like what they are, because it's not in color.
Yeah, but the sketch, it still gives quite a bit of detail, I think.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, the horse and that cowboy, that 10-gallon hat they call him. So this infuriated the little man, who, forgetting his fear, stood up in his stirrups and shouted, "Tarnation take ya, you red varmint! Wait till I catch ya! You have your stinking red hide for a sleeping bag." With that, he rode straight toward the Vest Hill at full gallop, shouting out strange cowboy war cries and waving his gun, which, by Omri's count, still had 2 bullets left in him. Little Bear had not expected this, but he was only outfaced for a moment. Then he coolly drew another arrow from his quiver and fitted it into his bow. "Little Bear, if you shoot, I'll pick you up and squeeze you," Omri cried. Little Bear kept his arrow pointing toward the oncoming horseman. What you do if he shoot?" "He won't shoot. Look at him." Sure enough, the carpet was too soft for much galloping, and even as Omri spoke, the cowboy's horse stumbled and fell, pitching its rider over its head. Little Bear lowered his bow and laughed. Then, to Omri's horror, he laid down the bow among the folds of the vest, reached for his knife, and began to advance on the prostrate cowboy. What do you think prostrate means there? If he fell down through the carpet, yeah, he's like down on the ground. "Little Bear, you are not to touch him. Do you hear?" Little Bear stopped. He tried to shoot. "Little Bear, white enemy, try take Indian's land. Why not kill? Better dead. I act quick. He not feel. You see." And he began to move forward again. When he was nearly up to the cowboy, Omri swooped on him. He didn't squeeze, of course, but he did lift him high enough and fast enough to give him a fright. Listen to me now. That cowboy isn't after your land. He's got nothing to do with you. He's Patrick's cowboy. Like you're my Indian. I'm taking him to school with me today, so you won't be bothered by him anymore. Now, you take your horse and get back to your longhouse and leave him to me. Little Bear, sitting cross-legged in the palm of his hand, gave him a sly look. You take him to school? Place you learn about ancestors? That's what I said. He folded his arms, offended. Why you not take Little Bear? Omri was startled into silence. If white fool with coward's face good enough, Indian chief good enough. You wouldn't enjoy it. If he enjoy, I enjoy. I'm not taking you. It's too risky. Risky? Firewater? Not whiskey. Risky. Dangerous. He shouldn't have said that. Little Bear's eyes just lit up. Like danger. Here too quiet. No hunting. Him. Only enemy. He said scornfully, peering over the edge of Omri's hand at the cowboy, who, despite the softness of his landing place, was only just scrambling now up to his feet. Look, he no use for fight. Little Bear soon kill, take scalp, finish. Very good scalp, he added generously. Fine color, look good on belt. Omri looked across at the cowboy. He was leaning his ginger head against his saddle. It looked as if he might be crying again. Omri felt very sorry for him. You're not going to hurt him, he said to the Indian, because I won't let you. If he's such a coward, it wouldn't do you honor any good anyway. Little Bear's face fell, then grew mulish. No tell from scalp on belt it belonged to coward or brave man, he said slyly. Let me kill, and I do dance round campfire, he coaxed. No, Omri began, and then he changed his tactics. All right, you kill him, but then I will bring you a wife. The Indian looked at him a long time, and then he slowly put his knife away. No touch. Give word. Now you give word. Take Little Bear to school. Take to plastic. Let Little Bear choose own woman. He's so bossy, isn't he? Omri considered. He could keep Little Bear in his pocket all day long. No need to take any chances. If he were tempted to show the other children, well, he must resist temptation. That was all. Can you imagine him taking? Can you imagine Little Bear being in your pocket right now?
I kind of feel weird.
Yeah. Okay, would he be in your pants pocket? Like your jacket, I can see your jacket pocket. Millie, I can see your jacket pocket. Little Bear, I like how you reached into your pocket just now, thinking about it being in there. I can't imagine him being in my jeans pocket right now.
Oh.
And he'd be all squished. Maybe your pants, you got a nice loose pants pocket. That would be impossible. Now, Little Bear and the cowboy, how would that even happen?
This is not gonna go good.
It's not gonna go
They
well,
would
is
shoot
it?
in the pocket at each other. They would fight.
Well, you have good room in both of your jacket pockets. Maybe it's wintertime and he could put them in his jacket pockets. Okay, let's finish up the chapter. We've got, I think, 2 pages left. The boxes, so no need to take any chances. Okay, Omri considered this. He could keep Little Bear in his pocket all day. No need to take any chances. If he were tempted to show, okay. And after school, he could take him to Yaps. The boxes with the plastic figures in them were in a corner behind the high stand, provided there weren't too many other kids in the shop. He might be able to give Little Bear a quick look at the Lady Indians before he bought one, which would be a very good thing. Otherwise, he might pick an old or an ugly one without realizing it. It was hard to see from the other tiny faces what they would look like when they came to life. Okay, then, I'll take you. But you must do as I tell you and not make any noise. He put him down on the seat tray and gently shooed the horse up the ramp. Little Bear tied it to its post, and Omri gave it some more food. And then he crawled on his hands and knees over to where the cowboy was now sitting dolefully on the carpet, his horse's reins looped around his arm, looking too miserable to move. What's the matter? Omri asked him. The little man didn't look up. Lost my hat, he mumbled. Oh, is that all? Omri reached over to the baseboard and pulled the pin-like arrow out of the wide brim of the hat. Here it is, he said kindly, laying it on the cowboy's lap. The cowboy looked at it looked up at Omri, and then stood up and put the hat on. You sure ain't no regular hallucination. I'm obliged to you. Suddenly he laughed. Just imagine thanking a piece of your delirium trimmings for giving your hat back. I just can't figure out what's going on around here. Say, are you for real? Or is that just Indian real? 'Cause in case you ain't noticed, your name's a lot bigger than he is. You can't both be real. I don't think you ought to worry about it. What's your name? The cowboy seemed embarrassed, and he hung his head. My name's Boone, but the fellas just call me Boo-hoo. That's on account as I cry so easy. It's my soft heart. Show me something sad or scare me just a little, the tears just come to my eyes. I can't help it. Omri, who had been somewhat of a crybaby himself until very recently, was not inclined to be scornful about this, and he said, well, that's okay. Only you needn't be scared of me. And as far as the Indian, he's my friend and he won't hurt you. He's promised. Now, I'd like to take you and your horse to go back into that big crate. I'll stick the knot back into the wood. You'll feel safer. Then I'll get you some breakfast. Boone brightened visibly at this. What would you like? Aw, shucks, I ain't that hungry. Couple bits of steak, 3 or 4 eggs, sitting on a small heap of beans, and washed down with a jug of coffee suit me just dandy. You'll be lucky, thought Omri. And that's it for chapter 9. So did anyone get hurt?
No.
No.
Luckily, nobody got hurt. Chapter 10 is breakfast truce, and that'll be for next time.